Okay, so I'm back with another video. Today I am reviewing the next episode of Agatha All Along, which is now the third episode. The first two sort of launched on Disney Plus last week, so from this point forward, it's just going to be a single episode each week. I really wish Disney Plus would just drop the whole show at once. It really does my head in that they do this stupid staggered weekly release thing. I don't like it, but there we go. Overall, I thought this was a really good episode, actually. Now the show's kind of settled into what it is. I've already talked about how I liked how it started and all that other stuff, so I'm not going to go into that again. But now the show's settled into what it is, overall, this was pretty strong. I didn't think it started off especially well. Like at the very beginning of the episode, I think a lot of the dialogue was quite explanatory in a way that I don't really like in shows where you have a character who tells other characters who they are and what they're after. It's obviously as established in the last episode, a sort of Wizard of Oz vibe where it's all these characters on this road and they all have different reasons for being there and different things that they want. But to kind of have a character sort of spell out what it is that these different characters want is all just a bit too much. I'm like, well, do you really need to come out and say it? And like, could you not just suggest it, or could it not be sort of inferred? So, there's a little issue with the script there. And there's a particular character, I've forgotten the name of the character now. I have just watched the episode, I can't even remember her name. But she is kind of like the sort of comic relief character. That Joe guy, the character who last week I was like, I wasn't a big fan of him. Actually, he's settled down a bit. He's not so like snarky and like quick-witted and always coming out with something. He's actually... In this episode, he showed quite a bit of range, actually, so I think that I'm warming to him a bit more. But this woman, she was just so irritating, and clearly she's the sort of comedy aspect who's like, the fish out of water thing, where she's not a witch and she doesn't know what's going on. And it's like, it started to just not be very funny. I honestly don't think this show is really that funny unless it's Catherine Hahn doing it. She is great. She is really good. She's got really comic timing. But the episode swiftly improved once it actually found its footing and we got on with the story, and it was actually quite creepy. Like I've been saying, like in my previous video, that what I wanted from this show, or just any show in Marvel in general, is something a bit different than the regular Marvel tone that we always get. And off the back of a second episode, I thought that's what we were just going to get, was just a similar Marvel tone. And while it did start off quite light-hearted, and I've got nothing against things being light-hearted in places, there were some genuinely creepy moments in this episode that was actually sort of what I wanted from this show, where, the witches are taking this potion, we're all poisoned, and they're seeing these visions, and it was quite hardcore in places. It wasn't all just silly, which is exactly what I didn't want it to be, so that's good. And actually, the concept of the episode and the concept of what we were at, where basically all these witches find themselves poisoned, they have a sort of small amount of time to find all the different ingredients and make this potion and get it in. It was a good take. Again, you had the tension there, you had the sort of ticking clock aspect, which was good. It just gives it that bit of tension. And ticking clock is something that loads of shows use, so it's not like it's original, but it does give you that sort of like, this has got to get done, and it was quite focused. And at that point, once it became more about that, and again, I like the sort of weird trippiness of it, where it's like you're on this road, but it can appear and manifest itself as anything. And in this case, they were in this beautiful house and all this other stuff. So I was like, I made it start to get all messed up and freaky. So I'm like, actually, it was pretty good. And there was also some pretty good acting in it from Catherine Hahn. There was some good ranges of acting in this. Because again, even though the episode started very light and very kind of fun, there was some moments with some of the characters where we showed genuine fear, genuine terror, and genuine like alarm for them. And I felt it. I'm starting to actually warm to these characters. Like I said last, one of my big issues with episode 2 was how quickly they've introduced all these other characters, and they're just like bang, 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 here's this person, here's this person. I didn't know who any of them were. I hadn't really got to know any of them, and I didn't really care. But now I am starting to care about the characters, apart from that irritating woman who I still don't care about. But the rest of them, I am starting to kind of, now you're through the visions of things that you're seeing and like little bits of what they're saying, we're starting to infer what's been going on in their backstories, what they've been through, what they've experienced. I'm starting to warm to them a bit more, and it's starting to become more intriguing to me. And I'm guessing that will continue as the show goes on. So overall, it was a really strong episode. I really did enjoy it. Like I said, apart from that first couple of minutes, but that really was just the very first couple of minutes. Mostly, it was really, really good, and it ended in a fairly shocking way. I like the fact that Catherine Hahn is still really good in the show. She's still like channeling that sort of badass aspect of the character, but at times she's able to channel something a bit more emotional too. It's not just like a one note thing, which is what I was worried about. So I think my sort of like misgivings of whatever happened in episode two are kind of they've been put to rest with this episode. I really did think it was good. Is it my favorite TV show of all time? No, but again, as I'm aware this isn't a show that is directly aimed at me. But I do recognise when it's well made, and it was. I thought this was actually a well made episode, and um, yeah, I really really like it actually. So hopefully, if it carries on in this vein, like the test will be, can it sustain this level? Because often with the Marvel TV shows, they start off pretty strong and then they become like quite weak, and then the ending's really disappointing. That's the sort of trajectory most of them follow. So we'll see if this one does that, or if it manages to sustain this throughout. I still don't think it's on the same level as something like the Penguin, but then it doesn't need to be, does it? It can just be an enjoyable thing. And I think having Catherine Hahn in it always elevates it because she does work really well as this character and really makes me care about characters otherwise I wouldn't really care about. I mean, I think my biggest problem with Agatha is I just still can't forgive her for killing that dog in WandaVision. And I know that sounds really silly, but I'm like, and I know that was in a completely different show, but in the back of my mind, I'm still like, but you did kill that dog. You killed that beautiful dog, and that really upset me. Like, because I honestly thought that that was like a figment of someone's imagination how it actually happened. But the fact you killed the dog, that really upset me. So I'm still that's why I struggle to sort of empathize with as a character sometimes. Because I'm like, you killed this dog. I really struggle to empathize with a character to kill the dog. But yeah, I mean, this is what she is. She is a villain, isn't she? But yeah, I do. That's just a bit of a joke, but I do think she does well with this role, Catherine Hahn. I do think she's gives it her all. And the other cast are too. To be fair, they're not really phoning it in. Like I say, even Joe's improved this episode. He wasn't quite so snarky and quick-witted, and I think it's just that tone I was talking about. I've talked about this in the video. I think the biggest issue is I'm just sick of this sort of the cheesy Marvel tone, the humour, the snarkiness, which is in every single Marvel project, and I just want something a bit different. And this is starting to give me that. And I understand it's Marvel; it's going to have something of that in there because that's just what it is. I don't want it to be like some. I'm not expecting some freaking hard hitting like show like The Sopranos, but just something that is a bit different, that gives it a bit of a different vibe. And this is coming to Halloween, but spooky and stuff. This is starting to do that. So I just hope it continues in this vein. So yeah, overall, really good episode. I'm much more impressed with this one I was with the second one. And I think that it should hopefully continue this way. And it'll be good if it does. That's it. That's my review for the third episode of Agatha All Along.